Hi, babies. It's the Even More Fabulous Mother Love coming to you live and in living color, was opposed to coming to you dead in black and white. And no, this is not black and white. This is black and silver because my black is beautiful. And we are so happy and so pleased. And thank you for joining us today. And if you're not with us live, you can always download this, listen to us and all the fabulous, wonderful people who are doing great things with their lives and their communities to make them better. And who better to have, well, I shouldn't say who better, one of the giants in making sure that we as a people, we as women are taken care of is Jeanette Robinson Flynn. Hi, my sister. How are you?
Greetings, and salutations. I am wonderful, and I am so pleased to be able to join you today. And thank you for that compliment. I sincerely appreciate it.
And that's one of the things that why we need, when I say we need to make sure we are bonding and manning forces together, we got to do this together. And you know why they scared of us getting together? Because they figure if it's two of us, we in cahoots doing something, we probably plotting against somebody. Well, yeah, I'm plotting against principles, and I'm plotting against.
We are plotting for. We are plotting for liberation. We are plotting for freedom, and not just our liberation, not just our freedom, or even not just our democracy. But I always say that Black women are the moral compass of the world, right? We do the right thing. We hold the values high. And so if there are two of us or more plotting and planning, trust, it's some people gonna get free. It's some people who gonna grow from that plot and that plan.
And you have to, and like the late John Lewis said, who I had the distinct honor and pleasure of meeting when I was a child. And I'm like, well, I got to be around all these old people. I didn't even realize the
You didn't
foundation.
know.
When you're a teenager. And I remember he said, if you got to get into trouble, get into good trouble. See. So Jeanette, let's talk about you. Where are you from? You got brothers and sisters? You got any kids? When you get bored of that necklace, you could just send it right to me. I even come pick it up.
Look. I have a daughter who every time I go by her house, I kind of sneak a little stuff out. Like sometimes it's jewelry, sometimes it's a dress or two. And I feel like, it's only putting life in balance because when she was growing up, she used to sneak a few things out of my closet also. So, and I have a grandbaby that I am like just delighted with. His name is Ayende James.
Wait a minute, say that again. His name is what?
Ayende James.
Okay, what does Ayende stand for?
I believe it's like little intelligent one because he is.
How old is he?
He will be 3 on the 13th.
Oh, you got a little boy.
A little boy, but he a boy. Oh my gosh, he is such a little boy.
Oh my.
It is so funny watching him grow. So fun.
Oh, wait till they get to be teenagers. Well, you remember being a teenager and having a teenage daughter.
I remember my daughter being a teenager. I had to, speaking of Black women getting together, I had to call a village together for that child.
Y'all got a handbook someplace for teenagers. I know it. I know because when y'all start calling the village and we do something stupid when we teenagers, then you're going to get reprimanded because Miss Smith down the street saw what you was doing. And so, get over here. Get over here. You are not going to behave like that. And then when she bring you home, you're going to get snatched again because somebody had to get you. And they will call everybody in the village. I'm like, why you have such a big family? I got to call everybody to come down.
Everybody. Because everybody part of you. Everybody love you. We're going to take care of you, and we're going to keep you in check.
Well, that's our job. That is our position. And I don't know why, it just pains me to see how disconnected so many of us are. And it's joyful and it's hopeful that we got people like you in the world to keep us connected, who is not afraid to say, oh, no. That's not how you behave yourself. That's not how a young lady acts. So, were you a good teenager or were you one of them rambunctious teenagers? You? What?
Do you see my halo? What?
It's kind of dimming, Jeanette. Wait a minute.
The halo is there. I tucked it in this morning. Jeez. I think it depends on who you talk to. Everybody got a different story, a different version, a different perspective of Jan growing up. Yes, indeed. But I will say this: I grew up in Chicago, And I remember when I moved to Los Angeles, which is where I live now, I came out here in January to visit my brother.
Hmm.
And it was, it was wonderful, right? He did something different with me every day. He was the consummate tour guide,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
It was great, right? And then I got ready to go back home because it was just a visit. It was 80 degrees in January, a sunny day in Southern California. And when I got to Chicago with the wind chill factor, it was 20 below zero.
You just saying it makes me cold.
I,
I'm
I
from
was
Ohio.
like,
So,
what am I doing living in Chicago when I don't have to live like this? You know how cold 20 degrees below zero is?
and people who have never felt it, on a consistent basis, when you have to get up and the hawk and got you snowed in because it was a snowstorm and the wind moved, and you got to put a blanket on your car, on your engine, then you got to go outside and start it up an hour before it's time for
Oh,
you to be
yeah,
at
this
work.
is this is so funny because I remember one James Bond movie, and you know how at the beginning of the movie they show the little gadgets, right?
Mm.
And one of the gadget was you could turn your ignition on from in the house, and I was like, we've been doing that forever. That ain't a gadget, true. That's a necessity in Chicago. You got to get fully dressed to empty the trash,
Wait a
mind
minute.
you. So of
Boots,
course we had something to turn on
snowsuit.
the car so the car could get warm before we had to move it. And then I also joke about Chicago. When you clean all that snow out from your parking space or in front of you, and then you put a chair in a broom. Everybody know that's the rule in Chicago that you do not park there.
Right.
And people like, why is furniture in the street? And I was like, oh, don't you know?
You can say, well, you must not be from here. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because we know what we have to do, and we
Yeah,
get up
we
and
know
we
the
do it
story. We
anyway. We get up and and finding your voice, and when you do find your voice, because when I was growing up, what did they tell us? A child stays in a child's place. Stay out of grown folks' business. Well, if I stay out of grown folks' business, and I'm not gonna always be a child to be in a child's place, how do I, make that connectivity? And they tell me, shut up and get out the kitchen. Just get on out the kitchen. You
Oh,
ain't you old enough for that conversation. And
look.
so,
See, two
what,
things on that, right?
okay, so you got a
So
brother, you got any sisters?
I have no sisters. I'm the only girl.
Out of how many?
Four.
Oh, yeah, Are you the baby? Where do you fit in the four line?
I'm
You
the
the
baby.
baby. So they spoiled you right. And that's why you ain't worth a quarter right now. Listen, and I'm with you. I am so with you with that. And see, you weren't worth a quarter, you were worth millions. Matter of fact, you are priceless. And to have this in your spirit, where did the nurturing come from for you to say, this is what I want to do? And when did you did you acknowledge that this is what you were supposed to do?
Well, I tell this story. Um, so I used to work for an organization, is a mainstream white organization, and you can count the people of color there.
Mm.
And if you counted just the black people, it was even less,
Oh,
right? So I was like, oh, they're not treating us right. So I just started organizing the people of color at the organization,
mm,
right? And so I remember I was in the kitchen talking to my dad,
mm.
and I was saying, yeah, I've been organizing, and this is what I did, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, did you do blah, blah, blah? And I was like, well, yeah. And then he said, and then did you do blah blah? And I was like, yeah. So he had the whole game plan. And it was at that point I realized, oh, he put this fix in early. I was like, what? That James Robinson had like put the fix in and I didn't even know it. Right. So he knew the whole program, right? And what to do and how to do it. My dad was a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Wait,
So
say that again. Wait a minute, say that
the,
again for me.
the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Okay.
So he was one of the very first black men to infiltrate this very white and very racist union. So he had some experience organizing that he
Hmm.
passed on that I
Hmm.
didn't know. He had passed it on. So that was my dad, and my mom worked for Social Security Administration. So she was a federal government employee.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the only Black woman in management. And sometimes I just really, miss calling up my mom to talk about human resource issues, to talk about putting people on a performance improvement plan, and all those little things that she had that she just passed on to me also.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so being who they are, just in terms of, this Black man in a union where they were like trying hard to give him the dirtiest, coldest jobs, and my mom where she was organizing and pulling up people on the weekends and the evenings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it was ingrained in me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was who I was born to be. Mm-hmm. And then now that I look at my daughter in terms of, she's a CEO at the organization that she's at right now. So she calls me up and asks me about those personnel issues, and I was like, ooh, it's a different world, girl. Different thing going on than like I do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think that it was, and a lot of us don't realize how many seeds that our parents and our grandparents plant in us until not only has the tree grown up and with fruit, but you're like, oh shoot, that's where that came from. Right? That's how that started. Oh, okay. So
and like you said, the fix was in. When people can see you and people can feel you and they can see what you're made of, even when you don't understand where the wherewithal comes from. Because when you're a teenager, you feel like you're invincible and your parents don't know anything. They don't know crap from apple butter. They old people. How they gonna tell me what to do? I'm a teenager. So, teenagers make you understand why some
teenager, yeah, they teach you some serious lessons.
Oh, I'll tell you. I understood the phrase, I brought you here, I'll take you out. So in my logical head, I'm going, okay, if you take me out, like I think you said you take me out, you're going to go to jail. I didn't even say it out loud.
Of course you didn't say it out loud.
She said, oh, they're not going to put me in jail. They're going to put me in the nut house. I'm going to have to pop one in you. I'm taking all 6 of
y'all. Wait a minute. You didn't know the other part of that, too. It's like, I brought you here. I'll take you out and make another one. Just
like, not, look, I got goosebumps. And they would do it with a straight face. I had the fear struck in you. You know how you used to, did you go to church when you guys were growing up? A temple? Okay, and they could look at you from across the room.
Wait a minute, from the choir stand.
Mouth this big, and they could see you, and you could see them seeing you, looking at you, and you go from. You ever got pinched in church up under this part of your arm?
Let me tell you, I thought I was too cute, teenager. I had on some black fishnet stockings and some little boots, and I had on, it was like a forest green little hot pantsuit and a trench coat. And I stepped up in the church, and I could see my great aunt looking at me from the choir stand like, no, you didn't step up in here like that. But I was a teenager, so you know what I did?
She didn't know what she was talking about.
I sat down and crossed my legs, and then little usher boy come over. Hey, Jan, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. My aunt was like, she gave me that look like, don't you make me come out this choir stand. I was like, you better back off for a little bit. My aunt giving us the eye. He looked over there. He saw it too. He was like,
and backed on up. Let me get out of her sphere, because I could feel something get ready to come through here, and I don't want to be a part of it.
I don't want to be caused of it. So, I got them looks from across the church.
See, and we know we have all been through this for the most part, especially if you're a baby boomer. You know exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so here we come, and you saw, when did the light go on in your head when you told God your plan and he started laughing at you?
I think God is still laughing. Okay.
He got, how could he not still be laughing? I'm on the planet and my knees by themselves are their own comedy routine. The right knee got issues, the left knee got issues. So you know what the deal is with that part. So now, when did the light go on for you when you knew that this, because you've been doing this for quite some time, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about what you've been doing that keeps the village healed and keeps us connected.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm hard headed.
Mm.
Don't choke, because there's some people I'm just hard headed, and when people ask me, about my story in terms of, organizing or being part of Black Women for Wellness, I said I didn't realize one what seeds were being planted in me, but I do know that by the time I was in fourth grade, I went to Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I said I was in Chicago. Those Catholic school uniforms, it was cold. I was like, oh my God, I got to wear some pants.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I wore pants to school and those nuns sent me home. I came back the next day, but I had went home and organized all my friends to wear pants to school. So the next day, they all wore pants too. It was cold in Chicago. Sheesh. So they knew it was me, right? So they sent me to the Monsignor, right? And so the Monsignor, you go in the office, and he looked at me and I looked at him. He said, we'll just sit here for a while so they think you're getting a good dressing down. But I get you with those pants. So we all wore pants.
That was big. See, and you know what the issue was with that? First of all, you don't outthink a senior person. You don't outthink them. You don't make logic with them because you're a child and you're not staying in a child's place. And so this is what we need you to do. And the Monsignor agreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
You agree. See, and people don't like it when a child says something. But what did the good book say? Out of the mouths of babes.
Look, I wasn't even trying to talk about it. I was just trying to be about it. It was too cold. So from that point, we started wearing pants, right?
Oh, so you the Rebel Wowzer that started that.
So at least at that particular Catholic school in that particular neighborhood, and there was a whole lot of other little trouble I started over there too, but we won't talk about that.
Oh no, that's a day for another conversation.
But it was one of those things where when I look back on my life growing up, where I should have got clued in that, oh, wait a minute, you can organize people to change policy, to change procedures. And you know what? The People United can make that happen. So we had a group of students who said, this is a change we need because this is for our health and well-being, right? And it happened when we organized it. So when I think about, okay, that's how I got started. Now, where did I start, beginning to do that more or beginning to do that with the intention of it? I would say then by the time I got to college, I went to USC.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was at USC, I was I don't know what I call it. It was the chair of Black Women's Caucus at that point in time. So it was Black Women's Caucus. It was Associated Black Student Body of Southern California, ABSSC, because at USC you gotta be fancy, right? You can't be just BSU. Mm-hmm. And then there was the Black Student Newspaper, which was called All Us We. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in the office with the Black leadership of all these organizations, right? ABSSC, the student newspaper, and just all of us plotting and talking and trying to figure out how we grew the Black population at USC and how we could get some power and all of that type of thing. So that's when it started being intentional around organizing, as opposed to it's just something that happened because we did that. So I would say that just in terms of reflection about, this crooked path that I've taken to get where I am now. So, and where the reason that we are here talking even is because one of the things that I see going on right now. Black Women for Wellness works a great deal around reproductive justice.
Yes.
Right? So, around reproductive justice, there is um, a lot of different avenues in terms of when we speak of reproductive justice, we speak of the intersecting issues, right? Education, labor and employment, environment. We talk about maternal and infant health. We talk about sexually transmitted infections. We talk about HIV and AIDS. We talk about all those things that factor into whether you want to have a child, whether you don't want to have a child, and can you raise your child.
Mm-hmm. And how
So,
will you raise that child? What kind of environment do you want
how
to
do you
raise them?
raise that child?
And how will
Can
you
you
raise
how you
them?
keep your baby safe,
And
right?
everybody that has a baby, uh, you know, doesn't have the skills to be a mother or a
Well,
father.
I'm not even talking about skills to be a mother or father. I'm talking about if your child, say, is 12 years old playing in the park and the police kill them, or if
See,
your child is going to get some iced tea and some Skittles wearing a hoodie and they're killed.
and don't make it home.
That wasn't a parenting issue there. That
That
was the
wasn't.
racism in this country. That was the violence in this country. So that's what we were talking about, just in terms of whether or not you get to raise your child in a safe, nurturing environment where they have what they need to flourish and be a productive human being, that they get to have some dignity and some life. So we're talking about this in terms of how do we do this for Black women in the United States and across the Americas. So from Canada down to Argentina, Brazil, through Central America, Guatemala, Nicaragua, etc. They're having these conversations also, and these conversations are centered in abortion because so many women have died trying to have a baby that they didn't want to have, or are pregnant because they've been sexually abused and they don't have access. So they're calling this movement the Green Wave. And literally, they had a meeting in Mexico City this year,
Mhm.
and women from all of those countries in North, Central, and South America showed up. My question was, where the African women?
No.
How do we connect African women with this movement that liberates women worldwide? Now, notice I didn't say we're the Black women. I said we're the African women because there are Black women there. There are Black women who are born and raised, speak only Spanish, throughout Central and South America,
Mm-hmm.
or Portuguese, or an indigenous language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were at the meeting also talking about the lives that they had lost or the liberation that they desired around this issue of reproductive justice and around this issue of access to abortion. And we know that, quote, the European, unquote, women were involved. We know that in Ireland, they were like demanding reproductive freedom. We know that in England, they have a national healthcare system where women can access the healthcare that they need. We know in France they're doing the same thing. So we're looking at the women in the Americas, we're looking at the Europeans, and I'm still like, where the African women?
Where are they? And how
And
come they don't have
how do
access to this
how
resource?
do we begin to engage and involve and include African women in these conversations? Because we know every time I visit, somewhere in Africa, I went to Zanzibar. And let me say, Zanzibar has the nicest people and the best beaches in the world. They are pristine, they are so clear, and the water is tranquil, and it's warm. But you know what I saw?
Hmm.
Prostitution on the beaches. Absolute prostitution. I saw little girls that I swear could be no more than 12 years old, um, prostituting themselves to old white men.
So
I
they're
heard
coming
it's
over
the
there.
other way around in Kenya, right? That the men are prostituting themselves to old white women. But my point being is that in Africa, they have the same, are doing the same organizing around reproductive justice issues, whether it's from an economic perspective in terms of how do we get jobs for these women, how do we get skills and training for these women so they don't have a need to do this, to menstrual products because some people can't afford them and or some women can't afford them, and that's how come they drop out of school, and that's how come they don't have the education or training because they couldn't afford the menstrual products. So across the gamut, we know that African women are absolutely participating and planning and plotting for their liberation, for their freedom, for their autonomy to own their bodies. My question was, how do we then begin to connect for a worldwide movement, for a global movement? So no woman is left behind. So no girl is left behind. So every girl that needs menstrual products so she can go to school and complete her education has access. For every woman who does not want to take a pregnancy through, that she has access to abortion. And for every woman who does want to take a pregnancy through, that she lives through it, that she has a healthy pregnancy and a healthy delivery, because maternal mortality is way too high for this to be 2024.
Isn't that something? And then to have the right to choose about what you do with your body be in the hands of some old white man who has no idea what you're like, can never, ever, ever understand what, as women, what we go through. And then when you're a woman of color, when you're a woman of substance, they feel really threatened by that. And they see, and I've heard these some of these people say, America is getting too brown, it's too woke, too many women are in the workplace, too many other people from different, what? A black lady CEO of a company. And when you know that you're not going to break the glass ceiling, you go out and you create your own ceiling. And with Black Women for Wellness, I always will support everything that you do because you're doing such great work. And it's got to be, what motivates you to get up and say because we're in a dog fight. We are in a dogfight for our reproductive health. I mean, I'm past my prime. If I get pregnant, y'all better sound the alarm because something done went wrong, something done went crazy.
Something went real right.
I would be sitting there like this. We have one son, and when he was 15, my husband and I, we sat down with him and we said, "Well, son, we're thinking about having more children." And he was in high school. He went, "Wait, no, you can't be doing that. Y'all too old. I know you are here to ruin my life specifically, but you cannot do this. I am 15 years old. That's all I need my friends to see. My mother love, knocked up with her husband." I'm like, you can't call your mama knocked up. He had to get regulated. He said, "Well, why can't you just wait till I get grown and I get married and have some kids?" And he just went out. He was hysterical. By this time, me and my husband, I'm laying on the floor. He across the foot of the bed, and we are howling. And every time I wanted to see him go, I said, "Man, your daddy think I'm pregnant. Please, can you please stop with it?" And we have 4 grandchildren now.
Nice.
And to watch we got 2 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. We have a host of nieces and nephews and other children that we don't even know. That is important for us to pool our resources and put that power of the village around them, because I could not even imagine. Well, first, I never would have thought they would have overturned Roe v. Wade. But then when you stack the Supreme Court and they believe like you believe, so they have an opinion that they're not supposed to have an opinion. They're supposed to do it what the law says and interpret the law. Oh, but now you want to go off the rails and you want to tell some young girl, "Well, no, you got to have that baby. I was raped. I don't want to have this baby." You got to do it anyway. Who does... See, I got riled up.
So, and one of the things we talk about,
possibility of men in this.
So I was going to say, one of the things we talk about is now, rapists get to choose their mamas, right? Because the Donald Trump pregnancy packed the Supreme Court. We
And
saw
don't
that.
forget the appellate courts. Don't forget the district courts. Don't forget, they were on in all these little
Key
pockets.
point, it is so important who appoints judges and what the trajectory of those judges pass. But we know right now that the Supreme Court of the United States is I don't know what do they call it, a kangaroo court. Is not fair. It's
Wait
not
a minute,
just.
wait! Don't be messing with the kangaroos like that. At least they got a pocket and they know what their position is. These people that just went off the rails, and you know why I'm really pissed off.
So they
waited till
went off the rails.
Wait a minute, they waited till we got a wait a minute. They waited till we got well, they didn't wait till we got an African American woman sitting on the Supreme Court, and it's like they done just lost their mind. They done went bad crap crazy.
That was before she was on the court. So
Right.
I would say when Roe v. Wade passed in 1973, I'm going to go even farther. When Roe v. Wade passed in 1973, they were like, okay, we got to do this a different way. We got to figure this out a different way, right? And let's call them Christian nationalists, but they're not Christians because that's not how Christians act. So they went to the look at the court system, say, okay, we're gonna pack this court system. Pack the court system, that means we gotta pack the school system, right? So we gotta tear down any type of affirmative action that's happening. We gotta get some lawyers, we gotta get some students in law school who believe like we believe, right? So then they went back to how do we do that? Oh, you know what? We got to impact this education system. That means we got to get on some school boards, right? So we can say what books they get to read, what the curriculum is, etc. So it took them 50 years, but the school boards, the law schools, the courts, and the Supreme Courts are packed. They are absolutely packed. They look 50 years into the future to say, how are we going to do this? Okay, we lost this one, but we're going to win. And that's how we have to think now also. We have to think 50 years in the
from
future.
now. What is it going to look like? What is
right?
and
what
how
is it
do we
going to look like?
take that
And then back
into
it up. How do we get there? What do we need to get on school boards? Do we need to get on city councils? Do we need to make sure that we have teachers who are diverse? Do we need
Jan,
to have a medical system?
Let me ask you this, Jan. Let me ask you this: when we because I'm always trying to find the disconnect, because a long time ago, when you talk about the 1800s and Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves and wanting to try to at least level the playing field, or so they thought. Because when they freed all the slaves, that's why we got Juneteenth, because everybody didn't know.
No severance pay.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I said they didn't free us. They fired us with no severance.
See, let me somebody come hold my mule. What did you say? They fired us. That's exactly what they did.
With no pay.
This country was built on the backs of our ancestors, and it was the people that were here first. That this was their country. They keep saying we're gonna make America great again. So what y'all white people finna go back to where you came from? You gonna take that ride back over to the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean? No, you're just gonna sit up and say it's all your fault. We got to get you under control. We got to control the women, so that we can control the population. And then when they felt like they lost control, when Roe v. Wade got passed in 1973, and you think about it, ever since then, these old people that are old now are fighting tooth and nail so that we have no access to good health care. You shouldn't have to walk or drive 20 miles to get to the doctor's office. You should, and have people like us that look like us, that sound like us, and they say, oh, well, you're being racist. I'm like, I ain't in no position to be racist. I can never understand that. Prejudice, maybe? Okay, that's one thing. But I'm not prejudiced against other Black people. I might be prejudiced.
Racism implies that you have power. That you have power and control to somebody else's life or a whole group of people's lives.
And communities. They start taking, and then they started, and they keep saying, well, we didn't tell you to bring guns and drugs into your neighborhood. No, we did not. You decided to put them guns and drugs in. My mother carried a loaded 38 in her purse. Only shot it off one time, and that was to silence us because we had lost what was left of our mind. It was 6 of us, and we had each have one friend over. So that's 12 teenagers in the house together. And she hollered through the back, y'all can't get that noise down. She came downstairs in her house shoes with a duster on. You remember duster? With her pocketbook on her arm. And she pulled out, she had a gun out already. She shot it through the ceiling. The plastic cars start coming down. We never had that problem like ever again.
Mm-hmm.
All you gotta do is do it once. You know, I was scared. I didn't even know she carried a load of 38 in her purse until then. And I thought, her purse kind of heavy. What she got in here? You don't go look at the no woman's purse. You don't want to see what she got in it. No. And when we got to start having the knowledge and having access to better health resources, I remember in our neighborhood how and I came from the projects in Cleveland, how women get pregnant, they don't even know they're pregnant or don't want to acknowledge because it was some sort of a horrific situation that happened in their lives. They don't want to tell. They don't want to talk about it. And one of the things when we were growing up, people didn't talk about their health. Mm-hmm. They didn't talk about money, health, and politics. And there were the 3 things like I think you really need to know. You really need to pass it on. You really need to show that you're
you absolutely did. I want to say I remember I was writing my uncle's obituary, and my favorite uncle. Mm-hmm. And I put the truth in it, right? This my Uncle Frank's life. And they were like, go rewrite this, right? And take this out and take this out and take this out. I was like, but all this is true. They were like, yes, but we don't need that in the obituary. I'm like, but yes, we do. Because down the line, we want to know how he died, what cancer he had, and we might want to know where to find them other siblings, right? And they were like, but not in this obituary. So we absolutely, even in our obituaries, didn't talk about health in terms of how did somebody die. And we needed to know that. So we needed to know what our family health history is, right? Because it gives you an indicator of what the setup is for you, right? If your parents had heart disease, or if your parents had cancer, if your parents had high blood pressure, whatever, diabetes, whatever it might be, that gives you information about what you need to be cognizant of, what you need to control for, what you need to think about in terms of your lifestyle, your nutrition, your exercise, and how often you need testing, right? So we absolutely need that. We need that now. And we still don't do it as much as we could. And I understand that. I totally get it because we have a negative history with healthcare in this country.
Okay, Jen, when you, and I know exactly what you're talking about because it's so fearful. People in the inner city, people who look like us, they're terrified because they claim they know their history about the Tuskegee experiments, and that's why we have a disdain for the medical profession. And I'm like, okay, but you weren't even there. Okay, so this has been handed down and we don't know why. People are not wanting to talk about this. They don't want to talk about their physical health. And it's so...
But we didn't have to be there.
To talk about people's mental health.
Right.
Uncle June slatted the door.
We had uncles in the closet. We never talked about, right? And I'm not talking about in the closet because of their sexual orientation, but in the closet because we thought they was crazy.
Right. Then you got to hide it from everybody.
Right. But even if we weren't there, say with Tuskegee, because Tuskegee was not an isolated event, right?
No.
On August 1st, we celebrated the birthday of Henrietta Lacks, right? And look what they did to Henrietta Lacks. She was a young Black woman who scientists and researchers have made billions of dollars off of her.
And still do.
But her family doesn't.
I was so mad. I was so upset. And they kept using her blood, and in a way that keeps her bloodline going. So all of us, if we just go with what happened to Miss Henrietta, all of us, when they say all of us,
it wasn't isolated. We could talk about what happened with Annika, Lucy, and Betsy, with Mary and J. Sims experimenting on them in Alabama. right? The quote father of gynecology, unquote, who
Mhm.
experimented on at least three more than probably black women to perfect his instruments. Now, when I say experimented on, I meant no sedation, no pain
Anesthesia.
relief, no and nothing. Just tortured these black
Right.
women, right? And we could go on. We don't have a reason to trust the healthcare system, but yet we must figure out something because our health demands it.
See, and for me, this is why it's so important for us as a people to understand that we have to make our own PhD, make our own personal health decisions. And if you don't want to deal with them in the hospitals, then you need to learn how to take care of yourself so you don't go into a hospital, so you don't get a leg amputated.
Wait
You
a
need
minute,
to know about the
you
different side effects of having diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure. When we heard the story about how when they would bring the slave ships onto the United States, that they put the people up on the blocks, the slave blocks, and that the potential slave master would come up and they would lick people. And the reason why they were licking the people, these slaves, because they said if they taste salty, they can handle the transit. Like they'll be able to be out here in this heat. And that's where I believe a lot of our high blood pressure, because we're eating the scraps off the table. But do you think when we were growing up, people didn't get sick like that? You didn't have to. I knew 2 kids in the neighborhood that had juvenile diabetes. 2 out of the thousands of us that lived in that particular area, 2 had diabetes, and everybody wanted to know what do we call diabetes? What we call it still today?
sugar.
And it's a little sugar. I'm blowing you out. That's a little sugar. Look,
Mm-hmm.
And so
I want to say this. I think that I'm gonna go back to me talking about my uncle's obituary when they wouldn't let me put the cancer type that he died from in the obituary. I'm willing to say that many of us, because of the health status, because we did not get health care, because we did not get great food, and we still don't get great food in our neighborhoods and in communities. I would say the more of us died from preventable health, we died early than should have, right? But we just didn't know the name of it. We just
right.
didn't know that so and so had sugar and that's why they died. We didn't know that it was diabetes because they didn't have the opportunity to get the health care they needed to be able to diagnose or even find some treatments for it, right? Or even make the lifestyle adjustments that they needed for it. One of the workshops that we have coming up on
Oh,
Sunday.
let me just introduce, because me and you could be on here like till tomorrow.
And
Uh,
then
Jeanette,
it's called Deliver Us
I know that
Justice.
I just love to say your name is Jeanette Robinson Flint.
Okay.
I just love to say that. You're for Black Women for Wellness, and this is your annual Reproductive Justice Conference. You're going to have, this is coming up pretty soon on August the 9th. You're having Our Blackness Beyond Borders, a global health conversation in honor of South African Women's Day. Talk to us about how you got involved in that and the purpose and the importance of this conference.
Okay. So the importance of the conference is we as a Black community worldwide need to talk about our reproductive health status and what reproductive justice means for us and how we define it. Right. So for Black women, reproductive justice is more than simply abortion. It is how do we keep mamas and babies alive? Because we have the highest infant and maternal mortality. In 2023, we know of at least 2 Black women in Los Angeles County alone who died giving birth, and it was more. And then there's near misses. So that's why a reproductive justice conference is so important and why we cover as many topics as we do at our reproductive justice conference. We cover what's going on in South Africa because you know what? We got to hold up examples of where we are winning, right? And South African women, when they got together, the saying was, you have struck a rock, right? So let's celebrate South African women and let's see what lessons they can teach us about winning. and how to get together to win. And as I alluded to earlier, we have women across the Americas and Europe talking about reproductive rights.
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring in African voices in that conversation, right? And then there's a series of pre-conferences that are coming up or have passed already. One which we recorded and have a booklet on was around uterine fibroid tumors, right? If I run into 10 Black women, I know at least 5, probably 8 are going to tell me about their fibroid tumors.
See, and
right?
That's just unacceptable.
Right. And so we talk about that and put together an information guide,
Mm-hmm.
because the cure for fibroid tumors is not necessarily hysterectomy. It is not necessarily that. It is not necessarily surgery. There are other alternatives and things that can happen with you that you can adjust to see if you can control that issue in your life and still maintain your fertility, right? We don't talk in the Black community about the growing infertility that we are facing, right? We don't talk about having a joyous birth. You talked about your teenager having a meltdown when you said we're thinking about having another baby. Well, a lot of Black communities have meltdowns when people say, hey, I want to get pregnant or I am pregnant. Mm-hmm. How do we shift the culture around pregnancy so when someone makes that difficult decision to be pregnant and to, bring a life into this world to continue our legacy, that we celebrate that we affirm that we hold them up, right? As opposed to thinking perhaps this is another child for the master to sell on the block and they be gone away for good. Or it be a commodity or a thing for labor, right? Because that, I think, is some of the mindset that is in our epigenetic memory, that when we had a child, it wasn't our child. It was the master's, it was the slave owner's child, that they could do what they will with it. So for you, it's like, oh my God, you gonna have a baby? Anything could happen. You could get sold, right? So, and that pregnancy might be from rape.
Incest.
And one of the things that we learned in Alabama, we went to a Mothers of Gynecology conference, is that they absolutely bred Black people in Alabama when they saw the Civil War coming, so they can increase the value of their real estate, their property. So when the government paid them off, when they gave them reparations, they have more to claim as reparations. Now they paid those slave owners, but they didn't pay the enslaved people.
No, not one dime. Right? From there to this day.
Back to the conference. So our conference is August 15th. It's at the California Endowment, which is downtown Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And we will talk about many of these topics. We have a panel of doctors called Deliver Us Justice, right? And how do we get our students into med school and into all the professions, whether they want to be midwives, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, or MD or dentists, and keep them in school. Because I know how daunting those student loan debts are at this point in time. And those student loan debts keep you from practicing what you want to do.
Because you can't afford it.
Because you can't do it. You can't go back and work for the community. You can't be the community's lawyer because you got to pay back not only your undergrad, but your law school. You can't go back and be the community doctor because you got to pay for 8 years beyond college. So how do we keep our young people in these career paths? How do we create study circles for them? Mm-hmm. And then what lessons are they learning that they want to bring back to us? And then how do we connect them with traditional healers who hold the knowledge of herbs, who hold the knowledge of how food impacts you? I can't tell you how many times I've been to a nutritionist and said I'm a vegetarian, and they don't know what to do with me.
Because I'm not a total vegetarian. We don't eat red meat and we don't eat pork. And this has been for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. And people would always say to me, "Oh, he should come talking about them twigs and sprigs. Nobody want to eat that stuff. I need some fat back in my greens." Well, why you got to cook the greens if there's no nutritional value? Do you realize you can eat this
It's all
by
in the pot liquor.
it, and put it in, cool it off, and put it in the baby's bottle. Now, I kind of got along with that part, with the pot liquor and everything, because we ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, and a lot of people in our neighborhood, they didn't eat, because they couldn't afford it. I mean, we got families that have anywhere from 5 to 14 kids and their husband and the wife to feed. That's 16 people. So we ate a lot of fruits. We ate a lot of vegetables. We grew our own vegetables. We had community gardens all around the projects, and we would go out there, and they would actually, and I don't know why people didn't think that, they would actually try to be in a competition with the older farmers, who understand about growing. And they were like, wow, tomato plants taller than I am, and there's nothing like pulling a fresh grown tomato off a tree. And people, and they, boy, why would you eat that piece? That's not a vegetable, it's a fruit. Tomatoes are fruit.
Well, wait a minute. Here's
you don't want to eat well.
It is a whole nother flavor when you grow something and eat it. It's a whole nother flavor. It's that accomplishment, that relationship with the earth and with that food, right? But that's part of what we talk about too. That's part of the work that Black Women's Wellness does. We have a Kitchen Divas program that does food demonstrations. I remember one time we had some lychee, which is a fruit. And, the only thing I had known about lychees at that point in time was that you had martinis. Right? So I was like, oh, so we did a whole little Instagram video on how to break into a lychee, how to eat it, and just demonstrate it. It was great. So we try to, introduce folks to different types of food that they may or may not have tried or may have seen but not tried. Part of how Kitchen Divas started was because we were all tired of broccoli and wanted a different way or to fix or prepare broccoli, right? So, and sometimes there are different things you can do with foods that give them a whole new flavor or introduce a whole new life to you. So that's some of the stuff that we talk about, because nutrition is absolutely critical to a pregnancy or to life. And we have a growing food insecurity in our community. We talk about inflation. Well, that grocery store has really taught me about
gouging us
everything I wanted to know.
When we went to the grocery store, and I'm a bulk shopper because I don't like running out of stuff. I don't want to run out of toilet paper, toothpaste, deodorant, paper towel. I want to have all that at the ready. And so when you go in and you say, I was taught because as a person who's managing type 2 diabetes and how rampantly it runs in my family and my community, I said, I have to I got to be an example for me. And I was really, really sick. I was sicker than I thought I was, because I kept saying, push through it. And you know how women are. We will push through it. We will go take care of our ex-husband, new wife, baby, because she couldn't find a decent babysitter. And we do this. Leg be up, swollen up this big. Well, maybe I got to fry this batch of chicken for the church. But when you gonna go to the doctor to see about you?
Yeah.
When do you go and see? And we do not take our health as seriously as we can. I mean, you can only take it so seriously, because we're not going to come out of it alive. I'm going to ride until the wheels fall off. I ain't going to even have nothing to it's going to be that's mother love. That's it. That's all. We have to learn and understand. First thing I found out, there's no such thing as diabetes food. There's no such thing as high blood pressure food. Food is food. And everybody want to cook the same thing, cook all the nutrients out of the greens. We can't eat raw cabbage. Well, why are you eating coleslaw?
Let me just remind you what you do.
I'm just asking. We went to China. Like I said, we didn't eat pork, so we go to China, and it was a big muckety muck, event and everything. And so when we get downstairs, to go and have breakfast with the team, they passed them tray down, and she had it was like it looked like how you cut up tofu, really fine in them little cubes. That's what I thought it was. And I asked our translator to ask her what this is, and she said it's pork. I said we don't eat pork. No, you get a little pork. No, we don't eat pork. No, you get a little pork. She started arguing with us because we didn't want to have pork. And people will do that. Well, what you mean you can't eat this? I make the choice to not eat that because that's not going to be good nutrition for myself. We don't understand the importance of breaking our fast. We always think it's got to be sausage and eggs and potatoes and biscuits and cereal and all of that. Breaking your fast means you breaking your 12-hour fast from going to sleep. I could get up the next day for breakfast and have me a nice little piece of grilled salmon and scrambled me a little egg beater and put a little spinach and mushrooms and broccoli on the side. I'm good to go. But why you eating dinner in the morning? It's not a dinner, it's my breakfast. And just understanding the mentality and how food works in our bodies and what we should and should not put into it. And when you talk about Black women's health, not just here and in Africa and absolutely all around the world, because you know who's going to fix this crap show. All the way down to like, you know who's going to fix the crap show.
It's
going to be us. It's going to be women.
Be
that's what we do. I mean, I'm a firm believer. This is just my mother love take. God made man, right? In his own image, after his own likeness. He told him, you go out there and you could call him whatever you want to call him. He got out there and got the acting, whatever he did. And God went, oh my goodness, you going to need to help me. Come on back over here and lay down. And we got women. That's how we got one man. Okay, but when you really think about it, as a woman, we have to take the brunt of everything. I mean, you think about it. We got to come up with the meal plan. We got to come up with where you want to live. We got to come up with, the whole thing, the whole game. We got 15,000 jobs to do, and they can't pay us for what we're worth. And they know this because every one of us is priceless. And you have to get out there and you have to be willing to go through the gauntlet. And so talk about it because you have this event coming up, our Blackness Beyond Borders, a global health conversation in honor of South African Women's Day. That's on August the 9th. Now, where's the conference going to be?
So on August 9th, the global conversation is going to be at Afro Village, which is in the Crenshaw Mall. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's a morning conversation. And then on August 11th is when we have the Deliver Us Justice, which is the conversation with the Black Docs about maternal and infant mortality. And that's going to be at the Greenbrier Distillery. I think that's where it is. And then our conference called A New Era of Justice is August 15th. And that's going to be at the California Endowment. All of the information is at bwwla.org. That's our website, bwwla.org. If you want to go to our social media, that's at bw4WLA. So that is for Instagram, X, or Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn, and you can find us on Facebook. So all of those places will have information about the upcoming agenda of things we're going to do, whether it's the global conversation with African women, whether it's the conversation with Black Docs, or whether it's the conversation overall on the conference where we'll talk about everything from how the environment impacts us to infertility. And we even have a sister coming in from Ghana who's going to talk about the traditional healers there and how they deal with womb health. So,
I'm one of the many things that I learned from you and having conversations with you is the fact that you keep going. Your organization, Black Women for Wellness, and is just a phenomenal organization. Tell people how they can get involved.
Well, we have a campaign called Fierce Aunties, right? For all fierce aunties out there. So you can get us at our website. You can call us at 323-290-5955, or you can email us at info@bwwla.com. Right?
Now, before we go, because I can't believe this has gone by this fast,
Because we enjoy talking to each other.
Yes, we do. I wanted to ask you, what is the feedback that you're getting? And are you getting any pushback?
Of course we get pushback because we're Black women in America. But that's how we have aunties, because they are some warriors. They are some women who know how to talk, take action. They know how to volunteer. They know how to have a house party, and they know how to donate.
Okay.
So, Fierce Aunties, you can look for our billboards at 6 of them are on La Brea. One is at Slauson at Brea. And just be in touch. We got something you can do.
I know we got something we can do. So we just got a few seconds left. What do you want your legacy to be, Jeanette?
That I uplifted the voices of Black women, that some of the Black women that I touched are now fierce warriors or fierce aunties themselves who are fighting for our liberation, for our
Okay,
freedom.
wait. I just thought about that. I'm a fierce auntie because like a mother, you're drawn and drop a water, kill a rock, mess with my babies, mess with my baby, because you'll come up missing. Like what you said earlier, I bought you out, take you out, and I'll make another one just like you. No, you can't. It has been my pleasure and my honor to chat with you. Thank you all very much for participating. And remember this, no matter how big or tall, short or small, thick or thin, it matters not what skin you're in. Everybody needs some mother love now and then. And on tomorrow's show, we're going to have Jeffrey Mays, a boxing coach in the 2020 Olympics. It's going to be, we talk to everybody. And the Olympics is kicking butt.